The Locked On Podcast Network presents the College Sports Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in college sports. From our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The College Sports Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in college sports.
Ryan Day's extension changes the game for Ohio State, and Ross Bjork's ability to lock up Ryan Day through the 2031 season and also pay him $87.5 million is a wise decision. You're getting a great coach for 3 more years past his current contract, and also showing the appreciation that you have for Ryan Day while he's been the head man of the football program. Ryan Day in his 6 years at Ohio State is 70-10. He has an 87.5% winning percentage. He is one of 3 active coaches to have won a national championship. He is one of 5 Ohio State football coaches to win a national championship. That's such an exclusive group that it's even tough for some people to even think about getting that. Ryan Day's there. In his first job in college football of being a head coach, he's there right now. And the way that Ryan Day has kept this ship moving and kept this ship stable and allowed Ohio State to stay in contention every single year to win a national championship, I think all of that is stuff Ross Bjork saw before Ross Bjork's first day on the job. Even when Ross Bjork was down there at Texas A&M, he heard about Ohio State. He knew about this Ryan Day guy, and he's probably tapping in saying, the job's coming open. Who's leading the football program? Who's the man trying to make sure that Ohio State's football program is at the top of the sport? Oh, Ryan Day? I like what he stands for. I like him. He's a family man. He's very loyal. There are a lot of qualities about Ryan Day that I think link him and Ross Bjork together. And then when Ross Bjork got to Ohio State and got a little bit closer to Ryan Day, and Ryan Day and Ross Bjork spent time together and probably had a couple drinks together, they realized, man, we see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. This is kind of like the perfect marriage between AD and football coach. And then all of a sudden, Ross Bjork gets here, and some things don't go Ohio State's way, but Ross Bjork sees the big picture. He sees, looking forward, what can we do to help Ryan Day out? Give him a massive payday. Now, the interesting thing about this massive payday is that Ross Bjork and Ryan Day's agent were talking about a contract extension at the end of the regular season, towards the end of the regular season, before the Michigan loss. And I think that just speaks to how much Ross Bjork trusts Ryan Day, and you should too. Everybody watching this or listening to this show today should trust Ryan Day. We have talked a lot since the offseason, about Ryan Day's ability to get hires right, and the Brian Hartline and Tyler Bowen and Billy Fessler and those hires, and the defensive coordinator hire, which I think is going to come very, very soon. We talked a lot about Ryan Day's to adapt and to change and learn from his mistakes early in his head coaching career at Ohio State, and he has done that. And Ross Bjork has seen the growth. He's seeing it right now, and I think moving forward, you have to lock up Ryan Day. He is now going to be the second highest paid coach in the sport, only behind Kirby Smart, who after the 2023 season signed a 10-year, $13.28 million per year contract. Had to get that out because I almost said it incorrectly. And Kirby Smart's one of those guys that's won multiple national championships. Ryan Day can do that. Ryan Day can win back-to-back national championships, and to put himself in an even more exclusive group. Ryan Day has done a great job. And also, not only has Ryan Day done a great job, Ryan Day wants to be at Ohio State. We are a few weeks away from Jim Knowles going from Ohio State to Penn State, and that news breaking on the day that Ohio State celebrated the national championship win. And then Jim Knowles said some things during his introductory press conference that may have rubbed people the wrong way, that may have said, oh, maybe you're looking for the better job or a different job, but I don't know if there's a better job in the country than Ohio State. Do you have the financial backing of your AD? Absolutely. Of the school? Of course. Ted Carter and Ryan Day, they see eye to eye too. You're playing at one of the best venues in college football, really one of the best venues in the world. We think about Ohio Stadium and compared to other stadiums around the world, Ohio Stadium's up there as one of the best in the world. I think it's the best in the country. It's one of the best in the world. That's insane. But then you think about the fan base. Yeah, some people say it's a lunatic fringe. Some people say that Ohio State fans are crazy, a little fanatic, as you may want to say. Of course they are. That's what makes Ohio State football fans unique. And Ryan Day gets that. Ryan Day understands everything. And I mentioned the Jim Knowles thing on purpose because Ryan Day has repeatedly said how much he loves the Ohio community, how much he loves Buckeye Nation, how much he loves being the head football coach at Ohio State, and that he doesn't want to go anywhere. His family is in Columbus. His kids are in school. His family is growing. His family is stable. He doesn't want to go anywhere. And Ross Bjork wants someone at Ohio State that wants to be there. It's also very successful. Ryan Day has both of those. Ryan Day has earned every single penny. And I cannot wait until probably July or early August, maybe in June. I forget when the different publications go over their top college football coaches. And I normally go over the CBS Sports one here on the show and talk about Ryan Day, where he stands in the rankings and how he can move up in the rankings. I can't wait to see it. If anybody has Ryan Day outside of the top two, we might just make that a special segment here on the show and talk about it, because I don't know if there's another coach in a sport. Really, if he's the first, I understand that too. I don't know if there's another coach in a sport that you will take over Ryan Day. I don't. Steve Sarkisian? No. Kirby Smart? Some may say yes. I still might lean Ryan Day. Who else is out there? Dabo Swinney? Absolutely not. James Franklin? That's comical. I know we don't laugh and make jokes here on the show. Maybe I should, because James Franklin over Ryan Day? That ain't going to happen. Absolutely not. There's other coaches out there that are very successful, Marcus Freeman being one of them. I'm taking Ryan Day, man. Ryan Day is a successful coach. Ryan Day has learned a lot on the job in a place where you don't get on-the-job training. It's not supposed to be that kind of program. And Ryan Day has got that. And that job security piece for Ryan Day, he understands it and he needs it. His wife understands it. His wife wants it. Not just financial backing, being able to get $12.5 million per year, but it's that being locked up through 2031. And it wouldn't shock me if Ohio State won another natty between now and the end of Ryan Day's contract extension. It wouldn't shock me at all. It wouldn't shock me if Ryan Day turned into a coach that won the natty every 4 years. So guys, once they're recruited to Ohio State, they're saying, look, during my time at Ohio State, I'm going to win at least one national championship, because that's the path that Ryan Day has Ohio State on. We can't go that far yet. We haven't seen it. There's 1-6. Will there be one to the next 4? It's possible. It's likely. But I don't know if it's actually going to happen. But it could, because of the path Ryan Day is on, the lessons he's learned this year, and his ability to do what is needed to keep Ohio State at the top of the sport. While keeping Ohio State at the top of the sport, Ryan Day has provided a massive level of consistency, and he's kept the program stable in his first 6 years at Columbus, Ohio. And I think that's something Buckeye fans can expect moving forward.
I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. Imagine going to the big game this Sunday. That's what a lot of the people around me here on Radio Row are going to do, and the fans who are coming to New Orleans. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have time searching. Inspiration makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and take the work on tickets. Gametime. Download Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
It's official. Mike Woodson out.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Mike Woodson will not return as the head coach for Indiana for his 5th year. And look, what seemed like a home run hire at the time in an era of Indiana basketball that had seen some of the darkest days ever, right? It was several coaches, couldn't get anything going. You had some issues, you had some problems, you can't win games, and it was, hey, let's go get the former player. Let's go get a guy who was beloved by so many Indiana fans as a player, who was beloved by Bob Knight, a guy that just made sense. First 2 years, made the NCAA tournament. All right, that's fine. Kind of disappointing end in those tournaments, but at least you got there. And then when you had Trace Jackson Davis leave your program, straight down. You missed the NCAA tournament with a first-round pick in Khalil Ware, and you're well on your way to missing the NCAA tournament this year with the best transfer portal class and by far the best NIL money, the best NIL pot in the Big Ten. You're well on your way to missing the NCAA tournament again this year. It quickly turned into a nightmare, and for a lot of Indiana fans, that nightmare has come to an end. Mike Woodson was reported first by Pete Thamel on ESPN. It is everywhere now. He will not return as the head coach at Indiana. And we're going to break down tomorrow on the show so many of the horrific numbers for this program during Mike Woodson's time. The amount of blowout losses, the record in quad one games, the fact that you go on terrible losing streaks, the recruiting woes and failures that he went through at Indiana. I think I speak for most Hoosiers fans when I say I wanted him to be successful. I wanted this to work. I wanted this to be the one. When he was hired, we wanted that. Everybody wanted this to work because we were so desperate for something, anything to bring Indiana back to relevancy. And it just didn't happen. And when the fans turned on him, he turned on the fans. I talked the other day about how the team completely has given up on him. This is the right move for them to make this announcement and say, hey, the season is not going the way we want it to. Mike Woodson is done as the Indiana head coach. My question, though, is why wait? Why not just go ahead and do it now? And I know there's money involved. You've got an $8 million buyout. You've got an Indiana legend. And if Indiana fires him, you've got to pay it all. Like, there's a whole lot of logistics here. So maybe they're trying to solve this thing, I guess, nicely is the best way to put it. And maybe Indiana's trying to take care of Mike Woodson. Maybe Mike Woodson's trying to take care of Indiana. Maybe they don't want to put the fired label on it, if you will. I just don't understand why you would wait if you're Indiana. Why not just say, hey, we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to try and build some momentum. We're going to try and finish out this season and make anything of it. We appreciate your services, but we need to move on. Let's do the mutual parting of ways, is the term they like to use. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to allow him to finish out the season, but that's just me. All right, welcome back into this bonus reaction episode of Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on all things Indiana athletics. We post 25 to 30-minute episodes Monday through Friday, including bonus episodes on nights and weekends just like this one. Remember when I tell you every day is to have those notifications turned on? It's for things just like this. As Mike Woodson, it is announced that he will not return as the head coach of Indiana basketball for his fifth year. The 25-26 season will have a new coach on the sidelines for the Indiana Hoosiers. And as I mentioned, coming up on the Friday edition of the show, we will have a full breakdown of this, plus coaches who Indiana can hire, and much more on a full episode. But in this instant reaction, we ask, what now? It just feels kind of weird. Like, you almost don't even realize or accept it. I think that's that's kind of where I'm at, because I've had a couple of hours to sit on this while I was finishing up some broadcasts, and it just doesn't seem real. And it doesn't seem real because he's still going to be on the sidelines. I don't fully understand that part of it. Again, I know there's money and there's logistics and you want to do it the right way, whatever. I mean, if that's how you want to do it, then fine. It doesn't feel over yet. Until the season's over, the Woodson era doesn't feel over. But now you're going to have to go and get more players, because a lot of these guys are going to leave. Whether they're graduating or they transfer out, they're going to go somewhere else. One thing you don't have to worry about is a whole lot of your recruits leaving, because you don't have very many. And so you don't have to worry about that as much, but you got to go hire a coach, got to go make a sexy hire. and you got to get this program going in the right direction.
I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. Imagine going to the big game this Sunday. That's what a lot of the people around me here on Radio Row are going to do, and the fans who are coming to New Orleans. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have time searching. Inspiration makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and take the work on tickets. Time. Download Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
Deion Sanders does it again and adds another NFL legend to his coaching staff.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes.
Colorado, they've had a gaping hole at two position coaches that I think I was really intrigued to see what they would do, right? Offensive line coach, I was like, okay, where are we going? What are we going to do with the offensive line, right? The unit has been one of the worst in the country the past 2 years, and you need someone who could fix it. And he goes within, hires Gunnar White, promotes Gunnar White. Running backs coach, Coach Flea leaves the program or is no longer with the program. And it's one of those things where you hate to see someone who seems like such a nice guy go, but you look at what Colorado was doing with the run game, it was nothing. So it's like you need a new burst of energy. You need something. And I think Coach Prime's hire is a little bit of a statement and a little bit of a, hey, look at me move, where it's like, oh, wow. So if you guys didn't know, I'll break the news for you. Colorado has officially hired NFL legend Marshall Faulk to be the running backs coach. If you aren't familiar with Marshall Faulk, if you're a youngster like myself who was one when he won his MVP in the NFL, let's learn about him. He was a number 2 overall pick in 1994, 2000, the year 2000, right? That was a thing. NFL MVP, 3-time Offensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl winner, 7-time Pro Bowl selection, 6-time All-Pro, and he obviously is the third, count them, 1, 2, 3. I think it's probably rare to have one Pro Football Hall of Famer, but to have 3 on staff, that's huge. And he's also in the College Football Hall of Fame. He played 3 seasons at San Diego State, 3-time All-American, 2 unanimous All-American selections, finished top 10 in the Heisman voting despite his team being absolutely terrible. And like I said, drafted as a number 2 player, finished his NFL career with 12,000 rushing yards, 6,000 receiving yards, and over 130 touchdowns. Was the second player in NFL history to have 1,000 yards rushing and receiving in the same season. So, and this part's cool, he's from New Orleans, so he has kind of a Southern footprint, if you will. Obviously on the recruiting trail, that's somewhat of a big deal, being able to relate to guys. But at the end of the day, I think being an NFL legend also helps, or it doesn't hurt. Get my hat off my desk here, but it doesn't hurt, right? So Marshall Faulk is Colorado's running back coach. That means one of 2 things for me, right? One, Coach Prime really wants to, he's taking a risk, right? Marshall Faulk has never coached before. 2, this move screams, I'm all in, right? I don't think if you're Coach Prime, you bring in Warren Sapp, Marshall Faulk, NFL legends who, mind you, they probably do not need any money. I feel like they're probably set financially, right? They're doing this for the love of the game. You don't move these guys out from wherever they're living, Florida, New Orleans, LA, whatever. You don't do that unless you're bought in. So not only does this move tell me that Coach Prime is trying to spark something on this offense, to create a new sort of dynamic for this offense, it tells me that he's bought into Colorado. And if this isn't a bought-in move, I don't know what is, right? This is a ginormous hire for Colorado. This is one that could change the trajectory of the program, right? Maybe they get into the mix for some 5-star running backs who, right, at the end of the day, and I totally just did not continue my sentence there, but let me finish. At the end of the day, all of these high school recruits, whether they realize that they're not going to go to the NFL or they are going to go to the NFL, whatever, they all think they're going pro, right? Every program in the country is selling to these kids, hey, we can make you a pro. We could turn you into a professional player. We can help you chase your dreams. And to some extent, the schools like Alabama, Texas, Georgia, whatever, Michigan, Ohio State, they produce pros nonstop. Notre Dame, Iowa for tight ends, right? They LSU for receivers, right? They produce pros nonstop. For a program like Colorado, who I think they'll probably have about 6 or 7 guys drafted this year, you're trying to sell that NFL pedigree. And what better way to sell that pedigree than to be like, hey, majority of our staff played in the NFL. We have 3 of the best players of all time coaching you. Like, you're going to go play for some guy who's never walked the walk like Marshall Faulk. I didn't mean to do that, but I just did. Or you're going to have some guy who says he can coach corners better than Deion Sanders, or you're going to have a defensive line coach who apparently is going to teach you how to be better than Warren Sapp can be, right? So adding Marshall Faulk to this coaching staff is a big move. I like it. I think it does a lot, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more. But realistically, if you're Colorado, you have to be on cloud 9. This is a program-changing move. And I love the hire. And for those who are, which the lack of coaching experience does concern me. I won't lie. But it is worth noting that they have an assistant to the running backs coach on staff who's experienced, right? So he's kind of going to be there like, hey, this is how we set up drills. This is how we maybe plan for the day. This is how we plan plan. This is how we prepare for, this is how we watch film or whatever, right? He's there to sort of be Marshall Faulk's right-hand man. And so Marshall Faulk should have every opportunity to succeed in Boulder. And for Coach Prime to take a risk like this and for it to actually work, pretty damn big deal. So comment below, scale of 1 to 10, if you're a Colorado fan, how pleased are you with the Marshall Faulk hire? Because I would have to say, as someone who covers the sport of college football, this feels like a 10 on the excitement meter, maybe a 6 or 7 on the make sense meter, because I don't. It's very interesting that he's going first year head coach to revive what is probably the team's second worst unit, but excitement meter 10, risk meter 11, right? And scared money don't make money. Let's dive into the recruiting aspect of things, right? We're going to look at Colorado's commitments from the high school ranks. Let's see. Running backs this year, none, right? They didn't sign a single running back at all. Last year, and let's not pretend like there's not a plethora of running backs out there. Running backs, they brought in 2 transfers. Last year, they brought in Michael Welch, and they brought in Brandon Hood. Michael Welch, I really liked. Brandon Hood, we didn't see. Okay, so I mean, I'm high on Michael Welch. I think that's more of that's a big hit for Colorado's recruitment and development if he ends up panning out. Brandon Hood, we haven't seen much from him. Year before, Deion Sanders' first class, if you will, they brought in Dylan Edwards, right? That was exciting. But he's obviously no longer with the program. So recruiting the running back position has not been a strength for Colorado. Even the transfers they brought in, Isaiah Gustav, Dallin Hayden, they're taking flyers on guys, right? They're not getting the top tier running back talent, and they're not developing the top tier running back talent, which makes it harder to get that talent. So if you are a program like Colorado and you are changing your identity on offense, because guess what? Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn and LeJontay Wester and Will Shepard and all those boys, all those dudes, those dogs, they're not going to be there to help bail you out on offense. That's just how it is, right? They're not there. You have to figure things out. You have to do things a little differently. Leaning on the run game when you have Caden Salter, who is a very dynamic runner himself at quarterback and obviously can utilize the RPO, read option stuff, or even Julian Lewis, if he wins the job, true freshman quarterback who should be a senior in high school next year. You need a run game to support these guys. And so for Colorado, Marshall Faulk should help them get into conversations and get into the room where it happens with these top tier running back recruits, right? Like I said earlier, if you're a running back recruit and it's one thing to turn Deion Sanders down, right? I think if you're a defensive back and you turn down playing for Deion Sanders, it's pretty risky or pretty hard, right? Like, he is everything you want to be. Simple as that. But if you're like, say, a quarterback, which I mean, he got a top quarterback in Julian Lewis, but you guys know what I mean. Quarterback, defensive lineman, linebacker. And it's like, okay, Deion Sanders is one of the best players to ever do it, but he doesn't play my position. So it's like, does it really matter? Do I care? Running back is important in college football. I mean, look at the 2 teams that were playing for a title. Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson. Ohio State, those three guys were literal wrecking balls, wrecking crews in the playoff. You need a solid run game to win games, right? You cannot just be all air raid all the time because it catches up to you. One day your passing attack, like look at Colorado's Alamo Bowl showing. Passing attack falls flat, and guess what? They have nothing else to really answer with. So if you're Colorado, you really need to get into the mix for these running backs, right? Say you offer 5 of the best ones. If you hit on one of them, great. If you hit on 2 of them, great. Or if you hit on one top tier and a mid-tier guy, like say a Michael Welch, who's a 3-star that you think could be something, awesome, right? But Colorado has struggled to recruit running backs under Deion Sanders and Coach Flea. So this could change that, right? This could be the difference between them getting some of the top talent or getting into the mix of, or bringing in more than one running back for every 2 years. So I like this for the recruiting perspective. What I also like, I don't know if he's going to be a good coach, right? I mean, he's never coached. I don't know him personally. I don't know how to coach running backs. I've never done it, never will. That being said, I find it hard to believe that someone who played it at the highest level won't have at least some advice to give to these guys, right? Ricky Williams was coaching running backs at the University of Incarnate Word, and then those running backs went on to win awards, right? So clearly, I mean, Ricky Williams is a special guy too, but clearly there's some sort of advice that can be given. I don't know what that advice is. I'm not, like I said, not a running backs coach. I don't know. But that being said, there has to be something that they could take from Marshall Faulk, right? And you have an assistant running backs coach who's going to sort of steer him in the right direction. Like I said, he's going to tell him, hey, we need to set up some drills here. Hey, I don't know, like we're lacking in ball security. Let's get these ball security drills going, right? Some of these guys have trained their whole lives to be coaches, and other guys like Marshall Faulk or Warren Sapp, maybe it hasn't been a passion of theirs all their life, but now they're doing it, and they need that experience, right? And having someone be there to guide him should help. So I think recruiting wise, it's a boost. I think just overall development, it's a boost. And let's just talk about the energy around Colorado again, right? Coach Prime recognizes, whether people want to admit this or not, Colorado's not going to have the same buzz next year, right? You lose Shador, you lose Travis. You still have Deion Sanders as the head coach, but you don't have his sons, Shiloh as well. And it's like, okay, do we care about this team anymore? They don't have his sons. They don't have Travis Hunter. Do we care? This is how you keep a team relevant. You keep making splashy in-your-face moves that could really pay off and help you win games. And so for those 3 reasons, I love the Colorado hire, or the Colorado hire, the hiring of Marshall Faulk to be the running backs coach for the Buffs.